Azerbaijani leader Ilham Aliyev has blasted the Kremlin's attempt to blame Ukraine for the crash of the AZAL passenger plane. The Azerbaijani president called the version promoted by Russian propagandists that the plane could have been shot down by a Ukrainian drone absurd. Aliyev stated this during the Shusha media forum. The president of Azerbaijan stated that after the crash, Baku sent a team to Aktau, which upon arrival at the crash site found that the plane's fuselage was full of holes and that there were 2 people on the plane with shrapnel wounds. The president noted, "The version about the Ukrainian UAV looks fantastic, since the aircraft was attacked twice. It is impossible to imagine that a drone shoots down an airplane and crashes and then everything happens again. This is a story for kindergarten. We know what happened," the Azerbaijani leader said, and also pointed out that Russia did not close its airspace. Aliyev emphasized that Baku has been unable to receive a clear answer from the Russian side on this incident for 7 months. The Russian Investigative Committee responds to all inquiries by saying that the investigation is ongoing. Ukrainian journalist Elena Kurbanova presented a collection of Ukrainian military shoulder patches to Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev, who not only accepted the gift, but also thanked her with warm words addressed to the Ukrainian Armed Forces. "Thank you for what you do. Keep up the good work." This short but significant gesture caused a real hysteria in Russian propaganda circles. The Kremlin mouthpieces came out with comments, accusations and insults. For them, it became a symbol of betrayal on the part of Baku and yet another reminder of how quickly the remnants of Russian influence in the South Caucasus are melting away. After the speech of the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, at the media forum in Shusha, the Kremlin propaganda machine became more active and began to whip up rhetoric against Baku. The reason was his direct support for Ukraine. At the forum, Aliyev advised Ukrainians to never give up and never agree to occupation. These words caused a real storm of aggression in Russian pro-war Telegram channels. Z propagandists immediately started talking about an alleged impending conflict between Russia and Azerbaijan. The author of the War Gonzo Telegram channel, Semyon Pegov, with almost 900,000 subscribers, said, "Azerbaijan has openly and publicly taken a Russophobic position, and the sooner we start preparing for this conflict, the better." The channel, 2 majors, proposed to stop importing Azerbaijani agricultural products, let the freight trains with tomatoes at the border start to sink from the heat, and let Baku hear this stench. There were also direct threats. Z blogger Poznyakov called for a strike on the capital of Azerbaijan, a Oreshnik grove in the center of Baku. He wrote,
"Idea that it was Ukrainian drone which possibly hit the plane is absolutely ridiculous. There have been 2 attacks on the plane. So can you imagine Ukrainian drone is coming, targeting Azerbaijani plane, hits it, then falls down, and then once again. So this is the story for the kindergarten. We know what happened. Plus, the airspace of Russia was not shut down. Airspace was shut down several minutes after the plane was hit. And this also is a responsibility of those who did not announce this Kyiv operation, which closes. So all that is clear as today's sky. But for 7 months, we have no answer.
The offensive and advance of the Russians in the Novo Pavlovsk direction are not extremely dangerous, since the enemy has concentrated its main emphasis on another section of the front. Military expert and retired colonel of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Sergei Grabsky, spoke about this on air at Radio NV. He explained such rates by the fact that the Ukrainian side cannot ensure the same density of troops on the entire section of the front due to a lack of personnel. Why I am calm about this? is because the enemy is creating a protective barrier there. The task is to get out and gain a foothold on the banks of the Solon River in order to create a buffer zone in this direction. It is hard to say whether they will go further. He noted that the Russians have now concentrated their main forces for an offensive between the Pokrovsky and Konstantinovsky directions. And there, according to Grabsky, the situation is extremely difficult. The enemy has learned the lessons of Bakhmut and Avdiivka, and that is why he is now trying to act in a combined manner. The enemy is tying down our troops on the front line. Our logistical communications, which provide the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration, are under attack by enemy drones, which seriously complicates the issue of providing our troops, which are conducting defense there, the expert added. Grabsky noted that near Bakhmut, the Russians were involved in heavy street fighting, trying to break through the city, and therefore suffered significant losses. Whereas near Avdiivka, their tactics were completely different. There are concerns that the enemy wants to play the same game in the area of Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. After all, he understands that the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration itself is larger than Bakhmut. Therefore, getting involved in street fighting is critically unprofitable for him. It will simply be a bloody meat grinder on both sides, which will lead to serious casualties. If we have no choice, we must hold on. For the Russians, this means a loss of the pace of the offensive. No matter how slow it is still noticeable. The occupiers continue to hide in the pipes of the Severki Donets Donbass Canal near Kramatorsk, even after repeated cases of destruction of units that chose this object as a shelter or crossing. On July the 16th, UAVs of the 5th Separate Assault Kyiv Brigade overtook and destroyed a group of Russian soldiers. Videos of at least 4 strikes on enemy units' shelters were published on the 5th Separate Assault Brigade's Telegram channel. "Don't hide, we'll find you anyway," the brigade emphasized. The situation was commented on July the 17th by the head of the Center for the Study of the Occupation, Petr Andriushchenko. He recalled that it was through this pipeline that water was supplied to occupied Donetsk and its suburbs. This is about why there is no water in Donetsk. Propaganda is lying, but in fact, it was the Russian army that destroyed the water supply system. Russian cannon fodder is now hiding in the pipes. Andriushchenko wrote on his Telegram channel. Let us recall that on July the 8th, media revealed details of Operation Pipe, during which Russian troops tried to penetrate Sudza. As it turned out, the occupiers walked along a pipe in which methane remained and there was not enough oxygen. They lost consciousness. The soldiers' legs failed, hallucinations and vomiting were observed. As one of the participants in the operation from the 30th Motorized Rifle Regiment said, preparations for the breakthrough through the gas pipeline lasted about 5 months. The entire process was accompanied by deep secrecy. The tunnels were made manually. The exit from the pipe was cut out in silence, trying not to show any signs of life on the surface. The occupiers did not go outside for weeks, so as not to be noticed by the Ukrainian Armed Forces intelligence. However, this heroic underground penetration quickly turned into a nightmare. The pipe through which the military was moving turned out to be saturated with methane residue. Due to the lack of oxygen, the Russian military began to suffer severe attacks of suffocation and hallucinations. They lost consciousness several times. Some vomited and coughed up blood. One of them lost his leg. He just crawled. He couldn't walk. He wanted to live, so he crawled, said one of the survivors. People fell asleep on the move from hypoxia. Some started bleeding. Others went into hysterics. Some, in despair, shot themselves in the forehead. Several eyewitnesses reported. There are a lot of guys like that.